he's resting now, he's at peace, and he's back with his wife Betty because he loved her and called her mama all the time. And so that's basically what I was thinking about what he taught us and about life and the hard workouts he gave us. He was hard but fair with everybody. He treated everybody the same. And so I had a lot of thoughts, about him passing.
I knew that the call would come someday. And I was concerned after I saw Coach Scott and talked with him at his wife's memorial service in February. I did not know how much longer he was going to be able to keep going. And I had 2 phone calls come in, one from a classmate and one from one of our trainers. And before I called him back, I knew what the calls were.
It saddened me to hear that he had passed away because he played a very big part in my life. He was like a second father to me.
He was a high principled man of high standards. He loved fiercely and he enjoyed life to the fullest.
In those days, there was a lot of prejudice, a lot of, we weren't considered to be football players in the eyes of other teams upstate. As a matter of fact, in one of the playoffs, in a meeting before the game, they asked Coach Scott, "Them Pepper Bellies know how to play football?" Coach Scott said, "Some can and some can't. We'll see you Friday." Needless to say, that was the best game we had. A lot of hitting going on in that game.
So you have to respect yourself to respect others. And we did that. That never let people tear you down for what you are. And that was very important for me in my life because I guess it made me mentally tough. And the discrimination we went through when we were growing up. So that mentally tough was a very important part of my life.
He and Coach Pratt did a fantastic job with us. They treated us like their own kids. They didn't have any favorites. It didn't matter if you were Hispanic or Anglo or what, And because back then, that was happening here in the Valley, where there were some people against Mexican Americans. And, but everybody on the field was the same to him. You did what he asked you to do, and you were okay. And after practice, he always went around, talked to us and telling us good work or you did a good job or and I was just kind of talking to us like we were his kids.
He was a father figure to us because my dad died when I was 12, and hadn't been for Coach Scott, I don't know what would have happened with us. My family, there were 15 in the family, so made it kind of tough.
The skills that he instilled in us were skills of a father to teach us about life, The skills that we learn in the field in football, but mostly to learn about life. And I carried those skills with me through my lifetime that I have right now. And I instilled those skills into my children. And that was very important to me.
They were a family and they were brothers from the minute they stepped on the field. And to this day, I think they still feel that way. And that's a huge testament to he and Coach LaPrade and how they laid everything out, and this is the way it was going to be.
was a very fair man. When we were playing football, he said, I don't have no football stars. Everybody's the same here. I mean, you're black, you're white, you're brown. You want to play football, you play for me. But just give me the respect that I have for you. And truly and truly, he was true. We didn't have no football stars in our team. Nobody was a star. Everybody was equal. He made us a big family, 18 kids. We were a family stuck together.
He didn't care if you were big, small, fast, gifted, talented, white, brown, whatever. If you made your best effort, and he knew you were doing your best effort, and you were tough, and he made us tough, but we were already tough from working and all that. But once you made it, you were in. But he didn't put up with any slackers, that's for sure.
He was a coach and he was a mentor, but it was not just of football, it was of life. And several of the boys have talked about life lessons, I think. My children, my brother's children, all take away life lessons. He had very high standards. He lived up to them and he pretty much expected everybody else to.
I spent a few years coaching myself because I followed his footsteps, and I used that same thing, that I never treated a kid any different. You're an individual, and you're going to do the best you can do. You're going to be the best you can do. And Coach Scott instilled that in all of us, and especially in me. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have a couple of kids make All-America. One played in the Super Bowl, and they won the Super Bowl. It wasn't what I did, it's what they did. But they had that heart, that I'm not going to give up. And that's one thing that he instilled in me.
What he taught us about life and doing the right things and taking care of your family and getting a good job. And if you're going to coach, what he always said is, you take care of the kids, the winning will take care of itself. And that was philosophy that I carried throughout my whole life. I had 5 kids, 2 out of Edinburgh and 2 out of Donna and 1 out of Corpus Christi. All of them doing well, and I know it's the training that I got, I passed it on to them. I was still a senior in Pan American. His fiance was teaching already, so I needed a job. So I called Coach Scott to see if he could help me out. He said, well, you coach 7th grade football and basketball. Let's go talk to Philip. Philip Fowler was superintendent. He had been principal when I was there in school. And Coach Mr. Fowler asked me if I had graduated from college. I said, no, I'm a senior. He said, well, Earl, we can't hire him. Coach Scott said, he's my coach's aide. Like a teacher's aide, he's my coach's aide. I said, Coach, we don't have that position. He said, we have it now. Now sign him up.
Several of us had offers to go to college. And I visited Baylor. A&M asked me to come up. This university asked me to come up. I didn't know what to do. I talked to Coach Scott and I said, what do you think? He told me, I think you're going to play a limited amount of college football, but the most important thing is to get your degree. He said, you can handle Rice University. So if you get a degree from Rice University, he said, that's going to be worth something. And I said, okay. I said, that's great. He said, now, are you going to go visit? I said, I would like to, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get there because my dad's busy. He said, Betty and the kids and I need to visit some friends in Houston. He said, we'll pick you up at 7 o'clock Saturday morning and we're going to eat. It wasn't 7:05, it was 7. We drove to Houston. I liked the school. I signed on with them. And 5 years later, I had 2 degrees from them, not just 1.
He just instilled in me to be the best that I could be. And without his guidance, no telling what I would have been, or the other 18 people on our football team. He instilled in us to be the best. You know, that you just did not accept losses or failures in life, you know, and he was a great life teacher. That's what I said, he was a special, special teacher. And he taught us so many wonderful things, you know. Now, sometimes I would get irritated with him, the way he would do things, you know, that you just had to say, okay, I understand what you're trying to do.
I remember we were in the old gym here, and it's on the campus here at the administration office now, and his office was in the gym, and he called me in. There were some coaches there. He said, hey, these coaches are from Salt Ross, and they want you to go out there and play football. I said, well, Coach, I can't afford to go to college, you know, I don't have the money. And he says, hey, you don't have to worry about that. It's a full ride. And I said, seriously? He said, yeah, it's a full ride. Everything's covered. I said, okay. Let me talk to my parents about it. He said, hey, what are you waiting for? There's a damn paper, sign it. So that's what I did. I signed the paper, and I didn't even know where Alpine was.
He had a very strong sense of what was right and wrong, and I've definitely carried this over to my kids and even my students when I was teaching. Very strong sense of what is right and wrong, and you know it. And the saying always was around that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And a smart person knows the difference.
One of the keys to the season of 1961, when we won, was what we did in the spring of 1961 to get ready. A lot of running, a lot of conditioning. We also boxed. It was legal in UIL back then. It's not now, but we boxed. And that is both mental and physical conditioning. He walked up to me one day on the far side of the track, and he said, why don't you just quit? Why don't you quit? I said, I don't quit, Coach. He said, well, you're not giving me your best effort, so you're wasting my time, you're wasting your time. I said, I'm not a quitter. He knew which button to push on different players. All he wanted was for you to give your best effort, whatever that was. You might be a mediocre player, you might be a small player, but if you gave him your best effort, that's all he wanted.
He was real happy for us. For him, he just thought he was doing his job. But he was real happy for us, the kids that had stuck it out, because when we started out with about 65, 70 guys, and all of them quit except 18 of us. And so he was real proud and thankful. And he showed it, you know, he's hugging everybody, Coach Brad, Coach is the band director, you know, Mrs. Isherwood, cheerleader sponsor, you know. And so he was real happy because we had done something that nobody expected us to do.
We're very proud of Donna. We were very proud to live there, and I think it's amazing that the magic still overflows, and it brought, that whole year brought the valley together, not just Donna, but I feel like the whole valley, you know, came together and to support, and it was just magical. It was magical. As a 7th grade cheerleader, I remember he was probably down on the field one time, and I literally was doing a 1st and 10 cheer when the other team had the ball. And that night we came home, and he's like, "We're going to have a little X's and O's, little lesson here." You know, he's like, "I can't have my daughter out there cheering for the wrong cheers." So I got a good football lesson that night, and proceeded to do all the correct ones from that point on.
We had a game one time. One of our players, he was he was kind of complaining that he had a broken leg. And he didn't have a broken leg, he had just been hit hard. And he whined about it the whole first half. So we go into the dressing room at halftime. He said, "You stay out here, I'm tired of listening to you." So he made him stay out of the dressing room by himself. It was a miracle. By the second half, he was ready to go. He didn't have a broken leg.
One of our teammates was ill, and we wanted to do a barbecue at his place there west of Three Rivers, little old town up there. He had a ranch. And I told him, hey, he said, hey, I'll drive you over there. And I said, Coach, no, I can drive, you know. I said, no, I can still drive. And he was already like 85, 86, somewhere in there, maybe 87. And he said, no, I'll drive. And you didn't argue with me? I said, okay. So that trip over there, we talked a lot. And I'll never forget that because it was just me and him talking about things and what he had gone through and coaching and all that. And that's an experience that I'll always remember.
When we got ready to go play for the state championship game, we stopped in Karnes City at Barf's to have our pregame meal. And we had our pregame meal, and everybody got back on the bus. We was ready to go to Austin. And all of a sudden, up, everybody off the bus. I thought, my Lord, what's this all about? So he said, okay, Lance, you get over the ball. All right, everybody else, line up, line up, line up. Said it about 3 or 4 times. And he said, now, when we get to the ball game, he said, there's going to be one of this play that I'm going to call that, Lance, you are not going to snap the ball for any reason. Everybody else is going to stay absolutely still. He said, because when we played Brady, we went for it 6 times and made it. And one of the Quanah kids will jump offside and give us a first down. So sure enough, in the Quanah game, he called that play. And they jumped offside. We made a first down. And that also took us in to win the state championship game. That one little unique thing. And I'll always treasure that in my heart.
He was a man that believed by and abided by the rules, and whether it be in society, all that training that you do in school as an athlete or as a student or whatever, is learning to do the right thing and stand up for what's right, and then give back to those that helped you. And that I got from my coach.
I want him to be remembered as a very, very unique person, a special person, a great individual that taught you how to be the best you could be.
He will always be remembered here in Donna for what he did for Donna ISD, the community. He served on the board when he was here and helped the museum, historical museum and things like that. So he did a lot for the community, and he was just a super, super person. Man that taught us a lot about growing up and being a man.
He loved what he did. He loved Donna. He loved those players. He really, truly felt like part of his greatest legacy was getting 50-plus players college scholarships. And those 50-plus players may not have had that opportunity had it not been for him paving the way for that. He instilled a value of education. He instilled a value of hard work. His work ethic was to be envied. I mean, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. And I think he instilled that. If he were to talk to high school players today, you know, that's kind of the message that would be over there. And love what you do, and he did, and it showed.